Hi guys, Pete here, N6QW, continuing along with our review of old-time boat anchor radios. What you see before you is an SBE-33 made by Sideband engineers, and actually the head of that company was Faust Gonset, who had the Gonset line of radio equipment, and he went off and started this company, Sideband Engineers, down near San Diego. And actually this ended up in its final days. Raytheon purchased Sideband Engineers. So it's kind of interesting to see that our next radio communication system here in the United States, employing SDR techniques, is a joint venture with Raytheon, who ultimately ended up with Sideband Engineers, and Gerald Youngblood, Flex. So a little of the old technology, which this was kind of the first hybrid rig that was ever produced, mass-produced. It was followed by the SBE-34. I have an SBE-34, but I tend to like the SBE-33 a little bit better. It just seems to sound better, and there were some problems with the 34 that I don't think they ever resolved. Anyway, I got it here on 20 meters today. Pete here, N6QW, and uses a Collins. It's a dual conversion. It uses a Collins mechanical filter, which was kind of fascinating back in 1963 when I first saw one of these. And a lot of my homebrew radios have blue colors, like blue LCDs and blue knobs and blue case covers, and this is where it came from.
This is Whiskey Papa Battle French.
There you go. The SBE-33. It's a 4-band rig. It uses PNP germanium transistors in all the transistorized stages, and then the final is a pair of this was the 27 GB5, two of them, and then a what's equivalent of a 12 BY7 driver. And so it used those 3 tubes in the final RF, but the 455 kilohertz mechanical filter. Kind of a nice one package radio. Interestingly enough, the SBE-33 it took the mains voltage, like 110 volts, and voltage quadrupled them. Not with a transformer, but voltage quadrupled them to produce 450 volts. Interestingly enough, this used not the 3-wire cord, but the 2-wire cord. And so to make sure you had the 2-pin plug plugged in the right way, they have an NE2 glow lamp on the back. And if you plugged it in and the lamp lit, that means you had to turn the plug around so that you didn't have the chassis hot. Sideband Engineers did make a DC to DC converter for this. And at one time I had an SBE-33 with the converter, and I ran it mobile, and it was really, I was in St. Louis, and I really had a lot of fun operating back and forth, because it was of course, a sideband rig and a small package. That's the whole, essentially the whole radio. 4 bands, 80, 40, 20, and 15, and not enough drive on 10. The power output is somewhere around 45-50 watts peak. No CW, although they made a device called a code adapter. I have 2 of these right now. The second one actually had a lot of refurbishment work, but has a blown meter, and so I had to come up with an alternative meter. It's kind of hard to find these meters right here, and they frequently blow because it's right in line with the DC voltage, and there's a lot of if you short something, you'll blow that meter. So it's got tune and load. It doesn't have an RF gain control. It has an AG circuit on it, AGC circuit that doesn't work too well, causes a lot of pumping and really strong signals.
We finally got things straightened out there, I hope.
Here we go. 20 meters. This is the 5th of January, and we're recording some off-the-air signals on the SBE-33. Kind of interesting what happened with this. The company Gonset produced the 33 and 34, and then I think the 30, about the 30 time 34 came out, the product line got sold to a company up in San Francisco, Non-Linear Systems or Linear Systems, something like that. And then that in turn got sold to Raytheon. I guess Raytheon really liked this idea of opportunity to get into ham equipment. Probably picked up the company for not too much money. So
oh, I know just what you mean
interesting
there
to
for
see
sure.
what's happened to these radio companies today. Again, Raytheon has suddenly was acquired by SBE, and as I said, there's a joint venture now with Raytheon and Flex to produce the next communication system, SDR, for the United States. The VFO is low frequency, so it doesn't drift too much, although there's a little bit of drift, and that was a kind of a problem. They put a VFO correction circuit in there, and the 34 on the 34, and that caused it to drift, and it just sort of like a semi-RIT. I never quite understood it, but I prefer the 33 much better than the 34. Both have a similar architecture, although a little bit different in way. There are no relays in the SBE-33. Essentially they use some solid-state switching in there, and that thing gets goobered up quite a bit, and so you end up unsoldering switching transistors to make the radio go into the transmit. But kind of cool. I've never worked 15 meters on this, but I've worked.
Stick around, Harold. I guarantee you're going to get a lot of calls. I got you on NetLogger as a free call, and you're a new
Pete
guy,
here,
so a lot of people are
N6QW.
going to want to work you. We're going to break with you for now, and we're going to try Kilo Oscar 4 India Delta Uniform. Kilo Oscar 4 India Delta Uniform. How copy? Kilo Echo 8 India November Oscar. Over.
Somewhere back in the Midwest.
I get the name up there.
I don't have the Gonset. He called it the Gonset Golden Toroid or something like that, which was an inverter. But I found that I picked up an inverter for about I don't know, 100, not 100. I picked up an inverter for about 15, 16 bucks. That you plug this into the inverter and you can work it off 12 volts DC. They did make a linear amplifier which had 6 sweep tubes in it, which is a relatively small package like this, and you see those floating around, and so with 6 sweep tubes I think you can get about 500 watts. By the way, the 27 GB5s, the SBE-33 uses 6 GB5. 27 GB5, I think you can get a matched pair for about 12-15 bucks from Antique Electronic Supply. That's Arizona.
They call it the Salt River, and yeah, we've got a few lakes made by dams, so we get electricity out of it.
The power supplier in Arizona is called SRP, Salt River Project. Not too many stations on. Time is about 10:30, 11 o'clock. All right, Pete here, N6QW. We're touring the SBE-33, a vintage 1963. I think they only produced these like 63, 64, and then came out with the 34. And as 34 had some interesting functionality because the box is just about the same size, but they managed to put a real power transformer in there, so you're not voltage quadrupling the mains. But it also had a set of switching transistors in there, so you change the power cord and you can operate a DC or switch the power cord and operate it AC. I've outfitted this with a linear amplifier switch, and the thing that's nice about that is with about 40-50 watts, it'll drive the SB200 to about 500 watts out, so you can put a pretty potent signal on it with the SBE-33 and 34. Sensitivity is not that great. So anyway, Pete here, N6QW, will end this video.